Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candidates Night 2022. This Candidates Night is sponsored by the Rockland Democrat and Republican Town Committees. Joining me this evening as the co-moderator is Lou Valenzola, a familiar face to many of you in town. I want to thank Dave Cable Murphy and Chris Bernica of WRPS TV for assisting with this program tonight. And also I want to thank the candidates who will be with us this evening. And I'll just read that off. For Board of Health, Rita Roche. Board of Park Commissioners, Brian Martin. Board of Selectmen candidates, John Ellard, Donna Shortall, Lori Childs. For School Committee, Emily Davidson, Melissa Morrow Small, and Michael Quinn. Thank you. Our first speaker this evening will be Rita Roche. Michelle Kennedy was not able to make it. So Rita, if you want to take the center seat.
My name is Rita Roche. On the ballot, you'll probably see it as Margaret Roche, but I do go by Rita, so I just don't want there to be any confusion when I'm running. I am a longtime resident of Rockland. I grew up here in Wyman's Field. I've lived here for over 30 years. My mother still maintains residence as well in Wyman's Field. You may or may not remember, if you've lived here long enough, I did work the counter at Dunkin' Donuts on Union Street for many, many years, whipping up some good coffee. After I graduated from Rockland High School, I moved on to Salem State University, which was Salem State back then, now is Salem University, where I became, I got a bachelor's as a registered nurse, and I worked at Children's Hospital for over 20 years. So I believe as a candidate for the Board of Health that it would be a good representation where I do have a nursing degree and would be very well versed in the CDC protocols and disease protocols as well. I am currently a mother of 4 who are all in the Rockland Public Schools here. And currently am at a stay-at-home mom as well, and I'm trying to get back into taking more proactive parts of my life back, and would love to be a participant in the community. I think over the time during COVID, like most people have probably thought about different things that have been going on in the community, going on in Rockland, and thinking, what is going on? Why is this happening? And instead of sitting home, I decided that I was going to take some action and figure out what the town is like, what it runs, and instead of judging why things happen, be more proactive and getting involved in things of the town. So my biggest concerns probably for Board of Health is probably my passion will be more of the housing. I mean, I am also big on the trash because I'm a family of 6, and that's like a constant stress in my life is whether we get the trash and make sure it gets out on time. But I love the housing, and I want to make sure that people that maybe have houses that are a little bit more dilapidated or stuff like that, that maybe we can figure ways to improve or show them different ways that they can find grants or funds or stuff like that that they might need to improve their houses. And instead of not that I would have anything to do with the developments, but instead of using more development money and finding new developments, more focusing on what we have in our town and making that more beautiful and having pride in your own ownership. So I am committed to making a good change and a positive change for all of the community here in Rockland. I am very vested in it, and I hope that you will elect me as for Board of Health. Thank you.
So Brian Martin, if you come up, please. By the way, I just want to thank everybody for showing up and everybody at home, WRPS. Very important to get out to vote, and with these people stepping up, really appreciate that.
I'd just like to mention that Richard Furlong, who's also a candidate, had a previous engagement, couldn't make it tonight.
Good evening. Thank
Hi.
you, John and Lou, for the invitation to introduce myself. Brian Martin. I grew up here in the town. I played youth basketball and baseball, and while attending Rockland High School class of 1984, I was involved in wrestling, track, and football. When I graduated high school, I went into the Navy, and from there, I went on to become a past district commander and post commander for the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and I also served the high office as state commander, 2016-17. Member of the Rockland Eagles, and I'm currently the president of the Rockland Girls Softball League, and I work for the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department, where I've been for the past 25 years. My reasons to run for Park Commission is to bring a positive change. The past 8 years, I've been involved in the sports for the Rockland, and although our park department does an outstanding job for the town, I don't feel there's enough being done for the kids, for the youth of the town. We've lost fields due to construction, and we have to figure out how we can make this a better situation for the kids. So I feel I could bring a positive change in and just, let's fix this. Let's fix the issues that's going on right now. There's areas in the town, I can work closely with the veterans, being a veteran myself. The Grove area needs to be fixed up. We need to, do that in the proper way to memorialize our veterans that was set forth many years ago. Also, down the park, Hearts of Park, I work well with the rec center right now. I currently work with Gene on doing youth softball programs. I do clinics. I also volunteer for a clinic down the Spring Street during the summer. So I'm very involved with the youth programs, and I feel if I can get in as a park commissioner, I can give them the space that's needed to do these programs. Because as of right now, we're losing.
The next group of candidates are for the school committee. And this evening, we're joined by Emily Davidson, Melissa Morrow-Small, and Michael Quinn. Would you care to step up? Just want to mention that each candidate for school committee will have the opportunity to speak for 2 minutes in an introduction. We will then move to a question and answer period, and then each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for closing remarks, an opening statement, and we can start with Ms. Davidson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I am Emily Davidson, a graduate of Rockland High School, class of 2011. I was born and raised in Rockland alongside 3 brothers by parents and grandparents who also attended and graduated from Rockland High School. Since attending high school in 2011, I have received my bachelor's degree from Curry College in 2015. After graduation, I worked at Wellington Management and Corporate Services, and since 2018, I have worked at Congruity 360 in Norwell as an executive assistant and property manager. I have been a dedicated board member of Reimagine Rockland for the last 4 years, whose main goal is to revitalize Rockland's downtown. I am a member of the planning committee that has hosted Rockland's first Fall Fest and work with the Open Space Committee in organizing the Town Cleanup Day that focuses on the rail trail, Hearts of Park, the town forest, and Union Street. I am also an active member in the school building committee for the new Phelps Elementary School. I am a current member of the school committee and have served as a general member, vice chair, and currently hold the position today as secretary, voted on by my peers. I have participated in contract negotiations, budget sub-meetings, attended numerous sporting events, plays, award ceremonies, participated in Read Across America Days, and handed out drive-through lunches during the pandemic. I am running for re-election to continue to offer a fresh, young, unbiased opinion to the school committee. I hope to continue to work collaboratively with fellow board members and administration to offer a bright future for all students of Rockland. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davidson.
All right, Ms. Small.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting the candidates night tonight and allowing me an opportunity to introduce myself to the residents of Rockland. I have lived in Rockland for 12 years, and this is where my husband and I have chose to settle down and raise our family. I've had the privilege of serving on the Rockland School Committee for the past year, and I am proud to bring to the committee my unique perspective as both a pediatrician who serves this community and a mom to 4 children in the Rockland public schools, spanning from kindergarten to middle school ages. Last year, I was motivated to join the school committee as we were in the midst of a pandemic, and one that saw not only our schools closed and our children facing significant educational challenges, but also as unexpected pediatric mental health crisis developed. I'm proud to have served this committee as Rockland Public Schools have navigated back to full in-person school and resumption of all the supports that are built on the scaffolding of our schools: special education services, mental health support, food security, to just name a few. In this role, I've had the opportunity to work with administration to partner with the Plymouth County DA's office to bring cybersecurity training to both students and parents and trauma-informed teaching skills to our teachers. In the next years, there's a lot of work to be done in the Rockland Public Schools. It's exciting, but there'll be a lot of heavy lifting along the way. We have work to be done in helping our kids not only succeed, but to make up for the educational regressions that have occurred in the setting of the pandemic. We need to support them in the development of their social and emotional skills, which we have seen on a system-wide level are behind where they should be as a result of recent events. We have a new elementary school opening and the development of free universal preschool for Rockland Public School students. There is so much to look forward to, but we need the right people on school committee to ensure that we continue to strive to give the children of Rockland the best educational opportunities in a system that meets all of their needs and is financially responsible. I look forward to the opportunity to be that person.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great. Next candidate is Mr. Quinn.
Thank you. My name is Michael Quinn. I'm a father of 6 children who all live here in Rockland, ages 5 to 17. I'm not from here. I moved here to be closer to my children. And that's also the reason that I'm joining the school committee is for my children. I want to join the school committee to represent the parents and all the students, not the state, not DESE, and not any other stakeholders or third-party interests that, from everything I've seen, email our school committee members through, MASC, that's the Massachusetts Association of School Committees lists that they send out to all school committee members with guidance, guidelines, draft policies, things that I believe are totally inappropriate. There are some other things that I believe our schools should focus on. And before I tell you that, I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. I joined the military right out of high school. I deployed twice. I was awarded a Bronze Star for actions during my second deployment. Also, during my time in the military, I was very lucky and I was able to earn 3 degrees, 2 associates and 1 bachelor's. And now I work in the construction industry here in Massachusetts. Because of that background, I've seen the dignity and honor of work that are available to people no matter what path they choose after high school. And unfortunately, with everything I've seen from my middle schoolers and my high schoolers, they aren't getting the same message. Every time we're talking to a student about a 4-year college after high school, we should be talking to them about entering the trades. We should be talking to them about entering the military. All those are valid options for students. And quite frankly, it doesn't make sense for every student to go to college. And they shouldn't be made to feel lesser because they haven't chosen that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. The next phase of this event is the question and answer segment. And with that, would you like to
I'll
lead
take the
off?
first one. I was looking over the questions to get a good one for you. So we'll start off with Ms. Davidson, and then, like we said, we'll rotate, so you're not always going first, and you're not always going last, as everybody steals your thunder, maybe. So I guess first one, why are you the best candidate for the job?
I would think I'm the best candidate because I am dedicated to the community. I'm a passionate volunteer, and I'm focused on the well-being of all students in our community. And I also believe you need to have a strong school district for economic development for a town. The first question people usually ask before they move to Rockland is, how is the school system? And I'd like to be a part of having a strong school system for our district. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Ms. Small, same question.
So I do believe that I'm the best candidate for this position because I bring a unique perspective. I bring the perspective of both a pediatrician who sees our kids in the community and the perspective of a mom of children with various needs, various ages. I have a passion for the health of our children in this country, and that is everything. So that includes their physical health, but so much more than that. So it includes their safety, the issues of food security, their social emotional development. There's so much to it, and it's been such an honor for me to serve this past year, and I do believe I bring something that other candidates and other members of my committee currently do not possess.
Thank you. And you, Mr. Quinn, same question?
Well, I would say I'm the best candidate to join the committee, potentially because I want to join it the least. I'm doing this solely for the children and for the parents who I know and I've heard personally felt like their school committee didn't represent them. That's it.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Just curious, because you guys were all very short. Obviously, the elephant in the room is what happened last year with COVID. And since I started with you, I would just quickly go through, do you think we should have done anything differently? Do you think we did everything right? Because I think that's probably in a lot of people's minds at this point. And I think you all kind of skirted around it, so that's why I thought of that as you're going through it. So if you can just go through that quickly.
Yeah, so I personally believe that Rockland did everything as best as they could. We provided testing for students to keep them in school as long as possible. We had a rotation of 5 days on, 5 days off for parents for their schedules. Other districts in the nearby community had half days. That didn't work very well as feedback. Our main goal was to keep students in school, and I think Rockland did the best that they could with that scenario with Jane Hackett's testing program, and then that's all. But overall, yes, my answer would be yes.
Thanks. Ms. Small?
I mean, first, I'd just like to say, I think hindsight is always 20/20. It's very easy to sit here and say, we could have done things different, we could have done things better. I think the schools were dealing with figuring out the medical information that was going on at the same time as the medical community was figuring it out. There wasn't a lot of guidance nationally on what to do. As a physician, I could tell you in the hospitals, we were relying on other physicians in other hospitals and what are you doing that's working for you, which is very different than any other scenario we've ever been in where there was information coming from a central place to direct it. Do I think Rockland did the best that they thought they could do, and they did it with the best interests of all the kids, trying to keep as many kids safe as possible? 100%. Do I think maybe we could have gone back to full in-person sooner? Yes. Do I think that there were opportunities to do things differently? Yes. But do I think that any of that was done from a malicious point? No, I think people were doing the very best that they could with the guiding principle that we had to educate kids as well as we could, and we had to keep kids as safe as possible. And I think everybody, honestly, in their hearts, were doing what they thought was best. It's very easy to look back now and say, oh, we could have done this differently, we could have done that differently, we could have taken off masks sooner, we could have moved back to full in-person sooner, but nobody wanted to be the person who did that and caused a big, a big infectious outbreak and lead to the schools being fully closed and everybody being at home. So So I guess that's my answer is, we
There's
could have done
no
things
easy answer. No, I
We could have
agree.
done things
Yeah,
differently,
yeah,
but I do think everybody was doing what they thought was best.
Yeah, not to be critical, just whether you thought it could be, so, it was tough. It
Yeah.
was something that, obviously none of us have experienced it, and hopefully we won't ever have to experience it again. Mr. Quinn, yourself, too?
Yes, sir. And I too believe that hindsight is 20/20. But there were parents advocating for what has become apparent now back then, and I was one of them. So, yeah, people made choices, and in hindsight, we can see that those were the wrong ones. They weren't malicious at the time, but they were the wrong choices, and hindsight's proven that. Look where we are now. And there were parents here in the community who didn't feel listened to, didn't feel like their school committee, advocated enough for them. There are other school committees across the state that wrote open letters to DESE, questioning their rationale, letting them know that what they were seeing in the schools and on the ground wasn't aligned with what DESE was pushing. And I think our school committee could have done that too. Maybe they did in private, but we, the voters, didn't see it.
Thank you, thanks.
So the next question I'll take here, and we can start with Ms. Morrow Small. Should the school committee maintain a public comment period at their meetings?
I think, while I would love to see an opportunity for the community to have their voice, there are open meeting laws that make that very tricky. And certainly that is something that I personally would love to see, but it can become a frustrating situation because of open meeting laws and the specifics of it. I don't know if you want me to go into the details, or, we want to make sure that we are following the rules so that we're not being fined and having violations of open meeting law. Certainly, I think what has happened instead is that the committee members remain open to hearing and meeting with any parent or community member who wants to speak with us. I wish open meeting laws were a little bit different, because I would love a public comment part of the meetings, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Quinn, same question. Should the school committee maintain a public comment period at their meetings?
Yes, sir, they should. I don't know what the open meeting laws are that would make that difficult, but I can't imagine the difficulty not being worth it. And to expound on that a little bit, the first time I became interested in what the school committee was doing was about 3 years ago. And I called down to the school after having a difficult time finding where the details for the school committee meetings are. And since then, I've heard from other parents that it's very difficult to figure out exactly what time the school committee meetings are between the school website and between the town website. And just to go back, when I called the school, you know what I was told? I was told that the school committee meetings aren't really for parents. They're really just for the members. And I think that's a shame. I think that every parent should have an opportunity to speak at the school committee meetings anytime they want to. I think it would be well worthwhile to have that on every meeting agenda.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Davidson, same question. Should the school committee maintain a public comment period at their meetings?
I think it would be a great idea to have an audience or open meeting questions time frame. But like Melissa has said, it is a violation of open meeting law unless it's not on the agenda. We do make ourselves available. Our email addresses are on the website, and I'm not sure who Mr. Quinn talked to at the time when he made that phone call. That is very unfortunate. I think it'd be great to have some type of form or question and answers that you could submit prior to the school committee meetings, and then we have, as a committee, have a chance to read out those questions out loud and answer them on TV or recorded if parents can't make it at night. And our meetings are every other Monday at 6:30 in WRPS. That's
Okay.
all.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Quinn, we'll start with you this time. If elected, what will be your priorities?
Well, one of my priorities would be to continue to advocate for the parents' roles in medical choices for their students. Some other things that I would do, I alluded to in my introduction. My son's a junior, my oldest son right now, and he's never seen a recruiter in his school. If I hadn't seen a recruiter in my school, I may not have joined, completely changing my life path from the very wonderful path that it's been so far. He's been involved in numerous college fair days, or days that purported to advocate for, whatever your post-high school plans are. And far and away, it's four-year college being pushed. The way the economy's been for the past 2 decades, maybe even longer, it just doesn't make sense for everyone to go to college. But the students aren't getting that message, not adequately, if you ask me. So there's 2 things. I'm sure in the 3 years I could probably come up with some more, but that's enough, I think.
Thank you. Same for you, Ms. Davidson.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. If elected, what would be your priorities?
I would say one of the priorities is to create a world language program for the entire district. Currently, it just starts in the high school. Also, improve the transition between elementary and then middle school and then into high school. I think learning gaps are there, and then preparedness for students, especially making the jump from elementary to middle school. And that could also be fixed with orientation, more tours, meet and greets, etc. And then also regarding, another thing I would do is make myself available to meet with anybody that is willing or has comments or questions that would like to talk regarding issues or concerns that they have with the district. That's all.
Thank you. And you, Ms. Small?
So as a pediatrician, I'm super focused in on the social and emotional needs of our children, and the backslide that they've seen in skill acquisition during the pandemic and the changes that they've had to endure. So I'm really focused on how we can work on those skills, how we can partner with outside agencies, like the Plymouth County DA's office, that put on an amazing number of learning opportunities for our students and for our teachers. I also am very excited about the development of the full day preschool, the universal preschool program, and really excited to be involved in how that develops and how, the opportunities for the school, for the students who start school and preschool, will just help them to go so much further they'll get so much more out of kindergarten and moving forward. And so it's a great opportunity. So I'm really excited to be involved in the development of that program as it starts to take shape.
Thank you. Mr. Ward?
Oh, thank you, sir. For Mr. Quinn, what is your opinion of standardized testing used as a tool to measure the success of students and teachers?
Well, sir, I'm not a fan of standardized testing in general, and specifically for using that as a metric for grading an effective teacher or for grading or determining whether or not a student has learned the material that he needs. I was a great test taker in high school and throughout my college career. But I understand that not everyone learns the same way, and not everyone can express that knowledge in the same way. So I think it's unfair.
Okay, thank you. Next, Ms. Davidson, what is your opinion of standardized testing used as a tool to measure the success of students and teachers?
That's a very tough question because I have my personal opinion. I think it's a very, I would say, there needs to be some way to check the students' work and how much have they learned and can they move on to the next grade level. You want to make sure that it's the students are fully comprehending what they're learning, and not only through MCAS and that testing, but we also have a Bridges program in the elementary school for math, and that's a new program that has been rolled out, and that's a process to help the students and their learning in different ways, not just simple math equations. They're using real life experiences in the programs. But overall, standardized testing, I do think it's necessary to have just for checks and balances throughout Massachusetts. That's all.
Thank you. Excuse me. Same question from Ms. Morrow-Small. What is your opinion of standardized testing used as a tool to measure the success of students and teachers?
So I think it's a little hard for me to truly understand how the results of those testing demonstrates that information, the teacher success or the student success, because I'm not an educator, right? That's not my background. I don't love standardized tests. I don't love the fact that when I've watched the presentations about the MCAS results, every few years it changes and you can't then use the results compared to the old results and things like that. So I think they're of limited value. I think they're helpful to the district in seeing where our gaps are, in seeing where changes need to be made. We need, I think that information has been useful in adjusting the elementary school education and getting a math coach to unify the curriculum in all of the elementary schools and things like that. I think it has some useful benefits, but I don't absolutely love it. I don't think that one single test of any sort of test tells you everything you need to know about a student or a teacher. So I think that answers your question.
Thank you.
What do you think are the most important functions of the school committee?
So the most important functions of the school committee are to hire, to evaluate, to terminate if needed the superintendent, to participate in budget conversations, and to ensure that we are being fiscally responsible with how we spend our funds, to be an active participant in the program, the programming, the resources, the direction that our educational, our Rockland Public Schools are going, to ensure that we're meeting the needs of all our students, whether that be a 2-year college, a 4-year college, a trade, the military. They should all be well prepared to be fully functioning adults in whatever road they choose to go. And that's our job, is to give them all the tools they need to make those decisions, to go out and be the adults that they want to be.
Great, thanks. And Ms. Davidson, same question?
Yes. So it really breaks down into 3 things, and Melissa mostly covered them, and that's to select and terminate the superintendent if necessary. And Dr. Cron just signed a new contract that we negotiated this year. And then also every year you need to evaluate the superintendent through a peer review process. And then number 2, you need to review and approve the budget from the school budget, and that's through the fiscal year June 1st to June 30th. And also make sure you're spending the town's money in the correct way. And then maintain policies for the district with either a program of studies or in the handbook. And then those are the 3 main reasons, but the 4th is a personal one, and that's to be present, to volunteer in the schools, to be an active, positive member in the community, and be a role model for the students. That's
Great, thanks. Mr. Quinn, same question?
Can you repeat it, please?
Sure, just what do you think are the most important functions of the school committee?
Well, with my layperson's view, I would say the most important role of the school committee is to ensure that they, the members, are representing the parents and the students, and particularly the parents were elected members. So by default, that's who we should be representing, is the electorate. I believe that the school committee should actively participate in ensuring through whatever means are at their disposal to prepare students for entering the real world, and doing so in a way that aligns best with their interests and aptitudes. And I don't have anything to say about our superintendent. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, at this point, what we'd like to do is go to closing statements from the candidates for school committee. Is anyone who'd like to go first?
I'll go. Sure. As a homeowner in this town, active volunteer, I feel this is the perfect opportunity to continue to give back to the community that has given so much to me. I bring strength in relationships that I have created through my volunteer work and being raised in Rockland. I bring wisdom from attending McKinley School, Jefferson, Rogers Middle School, and Rockland High School. I am organized, professional, kind, and a bulldog. I am proud to be from Rockland. Rockland is my home. I want to start my family and send my children to Rockland Public Schools. I believe in Rockland. I hope to continue to be a strong asset on the school committee. Please vote for me, Emily Davidson, in the upcoming election on April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Morris-Small?
So I'm not from Rockland. I wasn't raised here, but I came here and settled here and have loved becoming a member of the Rockland community. We've been here for 12 years. My kids wouldn't let me move down the block, never mind to another town. And I love that they're in the schools here, and I'm proud of the education that they get. I bring a unique perspective as a pediatrician, as a mom of 4 kids, different ages, different stages, different aptitudes. I hope that people see that I bring a different perspective to the committee and help to look at the schools as not just the education. The education is important, but there's so much more that the schools provide to our kids. And I like to bring that focus. I hope that I will earn your vote and that I do you proud, as I try to do every day in my role as a current school committee member. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn, your closing statement.
Hi, if you elect me to the Rockland School Committee, I will advocate for having a community comment period in every meeting. I won't have the final say in that, but that will be my position. I'll also advocate for you, the parents, and for your students. And I'll advocate to whoever needs to hear your voices, whether that's someone at the state level or beyond. I'll also take whatever steps are within my ability to increase the visibility of paths after high school that aren't focused on 4-year college, and also to ensure that our school is likewise celebrating students that do take other paths, just like they do those that are accepted to university upon leaving high school. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to thank the candidates for school committee, Emily Davidson, Melissa Morrow-Small, and Michael Quinn. And good luck to you in the upcoming election.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck,
Thank
and
you so
thanks for
much.
stepping up, too. I appreciate it.
Next on the agenda are the candidates for Board of Selectmen. It will be John Ellard, Donna Shortall, and Lori Childs. The format for this part will be, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We will then go to a question and answer session, and then there will be 2 minutes each for a closing statement. Seconds for
So
rebuttal.
if you
Thank you
need
for
to.
pointing that out.
Yeah. Start with Donna Shortall.
Thank you for providing this opportunity. My name is Donna Shortall. I'm a lifelong resident of Rockland, and I've worked for the town for 32 years. I worked in the school system as a paraprofessional for 12 years and worked as the director of Hartsville Park Day Camp for several years. I worked in town hall for 20 years, having worked in the treasurer's office and the town clerk's office. I was elected and served as town clerk for 2 terms. I retired from that position in December after running 3 elections under the constraints of COVID and the constant challenges that they presented. Having worked in many facets of this town, I feel I have an understanding of the workings of the town, and I feel I can bring a well-balanced base of knowledge of the challenges that our town may face.
Thank you.
I could have talked slower so that it would have been 2 minutes.
No,
but-
we appreciate that. That way we don't have to cut you off. I have the official timepiece here, so.
Okay.
Mr. Elland.
Okay. Hi, my name is John Ellard, and I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about myself. I moved to Rockland in 1998 with my wife of nearly 30 years, Gina. We raised both our kids here, John and Natalie, and both of whom attended Rockland Public Schools. I have my bachelor's degree in economics from UMass Dartmouth and my MBA from the University of Notre Dame with a concentration in finance. I worked at State Street Corporation for over 15 years and was a vice president when I was laid off during the Great Recession of '09. My involvement in town began coaching my daughter in Rockland Youth Soccer, and I eventually spent 10 years on their executive board, serving in various roles, including director of fundraising, the treasurer, and the secretary. My involvement with the town finances began in the fall of 2006. There was a capital exclusion to repair the library roof that was voted down. I was very surprised by that, and I couldn't understand why we wouldn't want to protect a valuable building like the library. So at that point, I decided to kind of get off the couch, so to speak, and went down to Town Hall and applied to be on the Finance Committee. I spent 5 years in the Finance Committee and quickly moved up to the vice chair and eventually was the chairman. In 2012, I decided to run for the elected position of town treasurer and was fortunately successful and served 9.5 years in that capacity, including 3 times re-elected. This past October, I was presented with a tremendous professional opportunity to become the treasurer collector for the town of Mansfield. At that point of my life and career, it was too good not to take. But leaving Rockland was incredibly difficultly emotional for me. I loved what I did. I loved representing Rockland. I absolutely loved it. When 4:30 came on my last day, I was literally in tears, and hopefully I won't do it again here. I was practically almost weeping when I handed my keys to my assistant, Allison. And if you know me, that I typically don't show emotion, especially in public. But I think that's a function of my British DNA, the stiff upper lip and keep calm and carry on mentality. I hope that an opportunity to serve again would present itself, and when I heard that both Mr. Penny and Larry would not be seeking re-election, I knew this was the perfect opportunity for me to renew my involvement in Rockland. So that's my 2-minute introduction. I'll get into why I'm the right candidate during the Q&A and during my closing statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Childs?
Hi, I'm Lori
Hi.
Childs. I'd first like to thank my worthy opponents. It takes a lot to step up for a position like this. So thank you, and thank you both for hosting this. When I was getting my nomination signatures, most of the people looked at me and said, "Do you have any idea what you're getting into?" And I really don't. right? But what I do know is that the residents of Rockland are extraordinary, and they deserve, and we deserve, to live in a safe and progressive town that we can be proud of. So that's my main impetus for running. I grew up in Maryland. I went to University of Maryland. I have a degree in American Studies, and I have a film minor. I worked in advertising in Washington, D.C., and then ran a bodywork practice for 11 years. I moved to Rockland in 2005. I have 4 children and a husband whose family is a large presence in Maryland. It's my family, too, I guess. We owned Anita Marie's for, well, since 1981, I believe. So I became a Girl Scout leader, which I adored. I loved it tremendously. And I did that for my children, but I met so many fantastic parents through that, in that role. My kids have gone through the Rockland Public Schools, VOTEC, and the charter school, a combination of all 3. In 2007, we experienced a house fire, and that's when I discovered how really amazing Rocklandites are. The very next day, my nephew lives next door, and there were donations of clothing and furniture and anything we'd need from floor to ceiling. It was absolutely stunning. Celine Furlong organized a meal train that lasted us 2 months. They opened up an account at Rockland Trust and raised $30,000 to help us out. And I was just blown away. So for that reason, I wanted to give back. You know, our friend Ellen Partridge died at the top of North Ave, and because the lights were turned out on the street and the person that hit her couldn't see it, and I was incensed at that. So we started a fundraiser and put the first 3 solar-powered flashing crosswalks in Rockland, all done by citizens. I've been on the finance committee for 3 years, and it's really eye-opening to see the inner guts of how the money is allocated in the town. And that's about it. That's who I am. I guess I'll, talk about, other things during the question and answer.
Oh, we got a
period.
bunch
Thank
of
you.
questions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you go first, Mr. Ward.
Thank you, sir. Why don't we start with Mr. Allard, since Ms. Shortall went first.
Okay.
In Rockland, we have major infrastructure issues with our sewer and water. As a select person, do you feel that the board should be working with the water and sewer commissions to help resolve the problems?
Absolutely. That's one of the main things the selectmen do, is they should be working in conjunction with all of the appointed and elected boards and commissions. I can't imagine why the answer would be anything other than yes to that. Now, how much influence we have over that's a whole other question, but we should absolutely be advocating and discussing these critical infrastructure needs with every committee, including water and/or sewer. So yes.
Thank you. Ms. Childs, in Rockland, we have major infrastructure issues with our water and sewer. As a select person, do you feel that the board should be working with the sewer and water commissions to help resolve the problems?
Absolutely, without a doubt. It's been my passion on the finance committee to get to the bottom of what's going on. So I have been meeting with a lot of people, and it seems that Joe LaPointe at the Water Department has applied for grants on time, and it looks like we're getting some GAC filters put in, which will bring the PFAS levels close to 0. So the sewer is another issue, presents its own challenges financially, and I have some ideas for that. So hopefully, hopefully we can, I'm sure if everybody works together on it, all departments, residents, select people, we can, get it done without killing people tax-wise.
Thank you. And for Ms. Shortall, same question. In Rockland, we have major infrastructure issues with the sewer and water. as a select person, do you feel that the board should be working with the water and sewer commissions to help resolve the problems?
Not to be redundant, but I will repeat what they've both said, absolutely. I think that all boards should be working together. We ask the people of the town to entrust us with their well-being, and I think that we should be working together for their well-being, and that includes water and sewer. Very important structures in this town. So I think that, as was stated, I don't know how much influence we have, but I think that we all need to work together.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Mr.
Next question, I guess I didn't realize from the prior with the school committee that the public comments or the open forum for the selectmen, that's no longer exists?
Been gone for a while, yeah.
I think that goes to show, because I'm not watching as much.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my next question. I'll start off with Ms. Childs. Should the Board of Selectmen have a public comment period at their meetings, which, as you probably knew, is open forum? I think if I remember, you may have spoken up at that a few times.
Yes.
I know I have. I know Mr. Ward did, so I was kind of surprised to see that wasn't part of the discourse. How do you feel about that?
I feel people ought to be heard. And probably some rules, maybe not open forum, because it could go, a meeting could go on all night in that case. Maybe questions can be submitted beforehand, and questions can be chosen that challenge the board to really discuss things and talk about things in detail. But yeah, I believe there ought to be some sort of way people can be heard. And, you know, I also believe that, you know, a lot of residents don't know what's going on, right? I get that feedback a lot, and there ought to be some sort of system for us to communicate with them without breaking open meeting law, to give people an idea about what's going on. I think you'll get better voter turnout that way, and a higher percentage of residents will come to town meeting.
Yeah, I agree. They feel involved. You give them that opening. Same question for you, Ms. Shortall?
I think that, as Lori said, I think that questions would be a great option. Unfortunately, open forum can lead to people taking out their personal anger in a meeting and not being necessarily productive. So I think for them to be able to have an option to present a question or an idea ahead of time that can be analyzed and appropriately answered is a great thing. I think it's necessary. We serve the people of the town. I think the people of the town should have a chance to speak, but having an open forum can lead to personal agendas that won't necessarily benefit the town. So I think that using a question format that they can submit to the selectmen and be guaranteed that it's going to be acknowledged. People need to be acknowledged. They need to know that they're being heard. So I think that would be that's a great option. I do have to say that I would not agree with the open forum unless it was specifically set up that there was going to be a meeting that was going to be open forum.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Elwood?
Yeah, I guess I'll echo what has already been said. Residents deserve to be heard, and if there's a mechanism that allows that, be it submitting some questions ahead of time, you don't want to violate any laws. I'm assuming there is a reason that it was turned off. But if legally we can do something without violating the laws, we should definitely have an opportunity to allow the residents to get their questions answered. And I think the idea of submitting ahead of time would make the most sense. So definitely the more input we get from the public, the better we can serve their needs. So it seems like a win-win to me. So yes.
No, thanks, appreciate it. Mr. Ward?
I believe it's Mr. Elled's turn.
Sure, that's fine.
Why don't we, should the town charter be changed to create a public works department by combining the highway and parks department? In addition, should the select board be allowed to appoint the town clerk, treasurer, and tax collector?
Okay. I think based on what we've seen at town meeting, getting any kind of changes like that, taking away the people's right to vote for these positions is going to be a hard sell. That being said, my new position in Mansfield, I'm appointed. I think that it makes a lot of sense to appoint you. Otherwise, you run the risk of, an 18-year-old basketball star with no qualifications who would get elected to be the treasurer without having any kind of vetting that would go through a typical hiring process. So I think it should be, but I don't think it will happen, just based on how it's been literally blown up several times at town meeting. So, there's pros and cons. Having, as an elected treasurer, I certainly felt some, concern isn't the right word, but I knew that I had to, do my job well, or I was going to get voted out. So, there's certainly pros and cons to it, but if I could wave the magic wand, yeah, I would make them appointed. And if we wanted to combine the highway and park, I would want to, hear from both Dave and Peter what their thoughts were on that before I could really, make any kind of intelligent comment on whether that makes sense or not. So.
All right, thank you. Ms. Childs, same question, I'll read it. Should the town charter be changed to create a public works department by combining the highway and parks departments? In addition, should the select board be allowed to appoint the town clerk, treasurer, and tax collector?
Many other towns have a DPW, and a pro of having a DPW is that you can buy things in bulk for, like, say, several buildings need a roof. You can buy roofing shingles for a bulk price rather than, so that's saving money in that case. I agree with John. I think I would get Dave's opinion on that and the park department's opinion on that to see if so. And as far as elected versus appointed, I do believe that people ought to be elected for the positions, because if we appointed, or if the board appointed, there could be someone's agenda personal agenda to appoint certain people, and I just wouldn't want to have anything to do with that. I'd want to work with people that the residents have brought up to boards. So, yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Ms. Shortall, I'll read it again. Should the town charter be changed to create a public works department by combining the highway and parks departments? In addition, should the select board be allowed to appoint the town clerk, treasurer, and tax collector?
I think having a DPW would serve the town well as long as there is a guarantee that the parks would have equal access to the highways, because sometimes the streets would take precedent because I don't have children that use the parks right now. So I might push for streets, whereas the parks also are very important. So as long as there was a way to guarantee that they would be equally heard, I think that, I think that the budget could be very beneficial for the budget to be able to, pool resources for trucks or equipment, or then you run into, is it an elected position? Because right now the highway superintendent it's elected. So that's kind of a double-edged sword. As far as being elected, the other three positions, for one thing, I don't know that you're ever going to get it past the town. It has to be a vote of town meeting. We've seen in the past that it does not bode well. Having served as town clerk, I always felt that I was representing the town and the laws without any influence from any other department that could come in and say, well, I need you to do something this way. No, but the law says I have to do it this way. So having the availability to say, no, I have to go by the laws. The people of this town voted me in so that I could protect the interests of the town. I think that's very important, especially in the position of town clerk.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Valenzola.
We'll start off with Ms. Shortall, this question. If elected, what would be your top priorities?
Serving the people of the town and their best interests. Listening to the ideas of people and making sure that the town is always serving the residents of this community.
Okay, Mr. Ellard?
Can you repeat it, just to make sure I...
So if elected, what would be your top priorities on the board?
Well, I think the most important thing for the selectmen is to find a way to work in conjunction with all the other elected and appointed boards, as I mentioned before. Rockland isn't your typical corporate pyramid structure where the selectmen sit at the top. We have a bunch of equally important boards and committees, and we need to find a way to for everyone to kind of be rowing in the same direction. And I think that's going to be a big part of what I'm hoping to do, or hoping that our board will continue to do, is find a way to work in conjunction with all the other boards, especially to address our infrastructure needs, the water treatment plant, the sewer plant, and of course the fire station. Father was a firefighter for 30 years. I can't forget about the firefighters and how important it is to take care of our first responders. So.
I appreciate that, definitely. Ms. Childs, same question?
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of people, both online and in person, face-to-face, and just listening to them, and you know, their responses direct what my top 4 priorities are. Number 1 is being a liaison between the departments, the board, and residents to improve our water and sewer issues. The second one is coming up with creative, progressive ways to repurpose abandoned buildings. There's state cultural art grants that not only, you know, turn buildings into things like theaters and movie theaters, play theater, you know, things, cultural art centers and such, but the grant also remediates the soil that might be bad underneath it. And tax breaks. Especially for seniors. You know, Jen Constable, our assistant TA, does a really nice job in researching and acquiring grants. But just think about the possibilities if we had a team of volunteer retirees who were in that field, who also research grants and can acquire grants, and maybe some from private industry that can help us improve the sewer system, particularly. The fourth one is, many, many years ago, from what I understand, the town used to have a team that cleaned the tributaries so people's yards wouldn't flood. I'd want to try to, you know, get that going again if possible, because that would totally help with the water system and the
Yeah,
sewer
that's right. I
system.
remember, I forget the name of it now.
Yeah.
They cleaned up the tracks too, right?
Right.
The rail tracks and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yep.
gosh, I can't remember the name of it. But that's quite a while ago. Good memory.
Yeah, well, I actually wasn't here. I was talking to my mother and father-in-law about it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Ward.
Why don't I start with Ms. Childs, because I started with Mr. Ellard. Here's one. Union Point is being developed with housing in Weymouth. Traffic impacts are getting worse. How do you propose to expand Reservoir Park Drive and Hingham Street to 4 lanes?
I don't know, is the answer. It's incredibly crowded. We could, you know, bring up opening up the gate again, but that is such a hot issue. I believe if we had creative solutions to perhaps open the gate and not have houses that were just a few feet from a major road. That, we need some creative solutions for that, to have residents up that part of town and, the boards and the town itself come to a middle ground with that. And, I believe in bringing in construction and so forth, but I also believe it ought to be smart, and it ought not overpower our sewer system, for one. I believe that ought to be taken care of before, and in speaking to people, they don't want to turn Rockland into a booming metropolis either, like Weymouth. So bringing in new development that kind of has the same look as the historic look of this town does would be preferred.
Okay,
So-
thank you. Next to Ms. Shortall. Union Point is being developed with housing in Weymouth. Traffic impacts are getting worse. How do you propose to expand Reservoir Park Drive and Hingham Street to 4 lanes?
I'm not sure at this point that you could do it because we don't have water, we don't have sewer, so we could not develop our end of Union Point for housing. If you could get industry to come in, then you could pass along some of the costs of that to expanding the road to be able to get into their new business. And I'm going to go to your point of opening the end of Union Street. I don't think it's practical to consider that as an option at this time, because when they made the street over on Union Point, it is so much higher than Union Street that it's not a simple case of just opening the base. There is going to have to be a lot of road work to bring it, to ease it up to the existing road out there. So I'm not sure that that's an option. I don't see that would alleviate any of the problems. I think that if the town can work on maybe bringing in some businesses down that end, down our end, then there may be more options for expanding. Some of Union Point, the street over there is 4 lanes. I think that it was kind of narrow-sighted to make it not 4 lanes all the way down, but I was not part of that. Think that our town would benefit better from bringing in more business as opposed to more residential. We do have a couple of projects out there, Shingle Mill, and that would increase residency, but we're still having a problem with water and sewer. I think that's our basic problem. I think that has to be looked at before we can really look at some of the other issues that would be involved in either expanding Reservoir Drive or doing something else with Union Point. I think we have to concentrate first on water and sewer.
Thank you. Mr. Ellard, the question is, Union Point is being developed with housing in Weymouth. Traffic impacts are getting worse. How do you propose to expand Reservoir Park Drive and Hingham Street to 4 lanes?
Okay, if I'm kind of understanding the question, you're just asking specifically about the traffic and how we could mitigate the increased traffic coming out of the housing there, not necessarily getting into what we're going to do with Union Point. I'm assuming you also mean the north end of Hingham Street. I don't see how you can widen Hingham Street down closer to Webster Street. That just seems like it's way too tight. I don't know how you're ever going to make that a 4-lane. You might be able to do it north up by the hotels and stuff, but yeah, and as for, getting into what should go into Union Point, obviously I think we are definitely hamstrung by our water and sewer capacity. I think the idea of Union Point, for at least on the Rockland side, was to be more commercial than residential, and I think that's the way we should go, is anytime you can bring in commercial, assuming we have the infrastructure to support it, that would be the preferred method. But as for the traffic studies and the what needs to be done to kind of build that out, I'm not a highway, builder. I'm not, whatever type of engineer that is. So I'm really not quite sure how to answer that part of your question, but just to make sure we hire the right people to come in and find the best way to do that without having too big of an impact on the residents that live along those roads.
Thank you. Mr. Valenzola.
Okay, so I'll start off, I'd almost like to expand upon that, but I know it's not. Well, let me, because you guys kind of got into it with the basin, I was on the board, a lot of us familiar with it, Mr. Ward was too, but with the traffic, and everybody seems to be a little more open with taking that gate down on North Union Street. I would also include in that the rest of around the base, we have a fence up around it. Nobody has a fence up around their town. How would you feel about proposing a project, and I know we got the water and sewer infrastructure to deal with, but maybe having other access points to the base, because if you ever looked at it from an aerial view, it's like an island right in the middle of 3 towns.
I believe the fences were taken down,
Oh, have they been?
the Navy, yeah, and there were other access points in Abington,
So do they have other access points in Rockland?
not that I know of.
Or would you be, and I know that probably wouldn't be within the purview, it'd probably have to be a lot of permitting process, and I'm sure MEP and all these people have to get, but would that be something that we should be open to? Instead of just saying on Union Street, we're gonna take down the gate, and I know that always creates a lot of response, but if we had other access points, then you're not depending on just that one access point, would you be open to that? And I'll start, with Mr. Allard on that.
I mean, I'm not familiar enough with the layout to even know if that's even feasible, but if there is a way to spread out the impact of a fully built-out Union Point, so it's not creating any one major impact on any one section of town, I think that would definitely be something we should be looking at. Although, like I said, I'm not aware of any real good way to do it, other than, the possibility of going down Union Street or, via Reservoir Park Drive. I don't really know how logistically it would work,
Yeah.
but if there was a way, we should
open to
definitely
it.
be looking at ways to spread that pain, so to speak, across a larger section of town.
Ms. Childs, same.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. And I also agree with what Donna said about bringing in businesses, but I believe we ought to bring in businesses that no other towns have, right? I don't think we need another pizza place or a haircutting place or,
No.
So maybe a roller skating rink, or I don't know, that's just off the top of my head. Just,
Well, sometimes you
Yeah.
gotta be creative. You look at Hingham
Yeah.
and what they've done to their downtown and stuff.
Absolutely,
Their little
yeah.
shops and stuff, and it seems to always,
Right.
have.
yeah, and, another thing about building out our end of Union Point is to look at the PFAS in the soil. You know what I mean? Look at the contamination in the soil from the airbase. And, work it into the budget it's going to be a huge remediation for that. So, I believe that has to be kind of considered before, but I definitely would consider other ways of accessing, of the base people to access Rockland, for sure. And give them a reason to come here and want to come here.
No, thanks. And Ms. Shortall, same question?
I'm a little more familiar with the base, just because I've lived there for so long. And unfortunately, it's surrounded by such residential area that I think putting in a major roadway in there is going to be a challenge, because it backs onto Olive Forest Street and Union Street and Spruce, and they're very small residential areas. So I think that putting in a major access there would be really challenging. Not that it can't be done. I'm not an engineer. I think that our focus should remain first on attracting, I'd love to see a supermarket coming to town, and I think that would be a great place for it. Unfortunately, it would increase the traffic. But if you have some of the bigger companies that would be willing to come in there, then you could propose expanding the width of the road or having them help with access. So I think that, I'm not sure how granting new accesses into the base would work.
I wasn't talking about major thoroughfare, because I don't want to hear from Ms. Parsons later. No,
Is that your phone ringing?
No, I was just talking like, because if you look at roads, are just dead in there.
Yes.
So not but the road would just extend into there. You wouldn't dead end it. So it wouldn't be a
Right.
major, so it would just give people other options. Like, because everybody knows back roads to get through towns or whatever, and you wouldn't want to encourage it for people driving through town, but we know it because we live here. So kind of the same thing with that, so that it's not on just one point in town, or a couple of points, and it's on several other ones. And, because I know it's just been a big issue in this town since they closed the base, was that 25, maybe 30 years ago. And a lot of people have struggled over it, and, it'd be nice to figure out the best way to use that. But I appreciate your answers on that.
Okay, why don't I start with Ms. Shortall? Do you think that all town boards and committees should have their meetings video recorded for later broadcast?
Not all. I think some boards, I think that there needs to be a live availability, because some people will come and sit and listen to a meeting and then have questions, whereas when you videotape it and put it on, a lot of people aren't going to watch it. They're just not. If you have a question, you have a concern with water, you may be more apt to go to a water commissioners meeting as opposed to watching it and trying to catch up with, okay, I want to ask this, I want to ask that. I think that being able to be present is the right of a voter. I think that most people we know do not show up for board meetings, but I think that things are more spontaneous when they're live as opposed to being recorded, because I would hate to see people think that everything is scripted.
Thank you. Mr. Ehlert, same question. Do you think that all town boards and committees should have their meetings video recorded for later broadcast?
I'm going to say yes. I think having the ability for residents who maybe can't make a meeting to be able to see what's happening at these meetings after the fact is a good thing. Obviously, it's better if they could go in person, but that isn't always the case. So I understand what Donna's saying, that you don't want to discourage people from going, because it becomes a lot easier to sit on your couch eating Doritos, watching the whatever meeting. But we also don't see a lot of people going, so I don't imagine we're going to see a big downturn in turnout at these meetings, because you can't go much down from practically zero. But having the ability to go back and see what was actually said, go back, 5 or 6 meetings to see what was said before, having that all documented and available, I think that is a valuable resource. And given technology today, it's pretty easy for that to occur. So I would, back to your question, is yes, I would think every board committee meeting should be recorded for later viewing.
Thank you. Ms. Childs, same question. Do you think that all town boards and committees should have their meetings video recorded for later broadcast?
Yes. In fact, I just signed a petition and they're trying to get it put on for the next town meeting to have the town vote on that. And Sherry Valley has the petition going around. So I believe in transparency without breaking an open meeting law. So I believe in absolute communication with residents. honestly, about things. And it's great if they see it right in front of their eyes, what's going on with the town. You know, and I believe that a lot more positive change would come out of it in the future because, you know, they could see something that would excite them so much that they'll just want to be supported behind that and just get a grassroots movement going. So,
All right, thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Valenzuela.
Let's see, who do we start off with? We'll start off, Ms. Childs. What experience do you have, do you think will assist or help you on the Board of Selectmen in the town?
Well, being on finance was fantastic. I hated having to give that position up to run for this one. It was such a deep decision for me. I loved working with John Pumphrey. It was fantastic. I ran a business for 11 years, and I had 7 employees. And let's see, I am a mother of 4 kids, so I have a lot of experience with budgets, and I coupon shop all the time. So, I want to try to do what's right for my neighbors and for my friends and for and for all of us as residents. I just there's some of the same old issues like cans that have been kicked down the road in town for years, and let's figure out how to fix these things.
Yeah, thanks,
So,
appreciate it. Ms. Shortall?
I'm sorry?
Same question. So what experiences do you have that you think will assist the Board of Selectmen to help the town?
Well, I have worked for the town for 32 years. I've worked in the schools, and I've worked in the treasurer's office before you. I've worked in the town clerk's office. I'm very fluent with the laws, and we keep talking about open meeting law, and I have a past experience with the dealings of the government of this town from a bunch of different angles. I think that I can bring that knowledge and be helpful as a member of the Selectmen. I think that I see things from a little different standpoint than some because I have worked in the town. So I think that bringing that experience could be very useful in a lot of situations, and I'm always willing to learn.
Thank you. Mr. Elwood?
I'm going to agree with Donna that having municipal work experience is going to be probably my biggest asset that I'm going to bring. As valuable as being on the Finance Committee was, it's not the same as working here and doing it as your profession. I did it for going on 10 years now between here and Mansfield. So I think that's going to be my biggest thing, knowing what works here in town, what doesn't work, getting an opportunity to see how Mansfield does things. So I'm going to bring a different perspective from a different town and compare how they do things. Like, for example, how they handle their town hall hours. We have this crazy system of every first and third Tuesday, and then we're closed every Friday during the summer.
I could never figure it out. It's always
Nobody can. No one knows what day we're open, what day we're closed. It's insane. Mansfield, they're open late one day a week, and they close at Fridays at noon every week. So in Mansfield, Wednesdays is the late night.
Yeah.
Fridays, they close at noon. We should have something like that here. That would just make it way more valuable to the residents. They would know when town hall's open. It gives them an opportunity to come after work. And logistically, I hated it as the treasurer that for 10 weeks during the summer, my work time got cut by 20%. It's not like we make widgets and can stack them in the corner to use. It never made any sense, to be honest. But so that's, for example, one thing working for another municipality that, we could bring here to Rockland.
Thank you, thanks.
Okay, just want to see how much time we've got. We're getting close. All right,
That's it.
10 minutes, okay. Here's a quick answer, maybe. With all the development, and I'll start with Mr. Allard, because I started with
Okay.
Ms. Shortall before. With all the development pressure on the town, should the town hire a planner?
Yes. There you go. You want a quick
Who's
answer?
going to say
Absolutely.
no?
You want a quick answer? We're running close on time.
We might be able to
Absolutely.
get 5 more questions.
Yeah, yes, we should.
Ms. Childs, same question. With all the development pressure on the town, should we hire a town planner?
Yes. I believe that
Yes.
we ought to hire the right one, though, and I'd love to be a part of that decision-making.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Shortall, should we hire a town planner?
Yes.
Oh, wow, unanimous.
That
Thank
won't
you.
happen on the board too many times.
Take it.
Well, we've kind of touched on this one here, and I'll start off with Ms. Childs. And it asks, what ideas do you have to attract businesses who are critical of restoring Rockland's downtown? Because I know when I was on the board, we had a vote that designated as blighted or something, so he could get some aid or whatever. And we've always tried to do different things, and we've all kind of touched upon it with the traffic, Union Street or whatever. But specifically, what kind of a business, or what do you think we could put there, not just to draw other people there, but maybe even other businesses down there?
A brewery, once we get our water system. That's just my personal
Yeah.
opinion. Places where people can congregate, can sit outside on nice days, I believe Stevie G's is amazing, and it is bringing in people from other towns. When I go there, I chat with people. They're from as far as Braintree, Whitman, Abington, and they offer a menu that is just a little different from everybody else's. So there's that, and like I mentioned before, a movie theater would be fantastic. I could see the McKinley building being redeveloped into a movie theater, because it currently needs some help with its infrastructure, which is very expensive. Why not pay a developer to keep the facade and turn it into something like a movie theater
Yeah.
or playhouse, right?
No, you got to think outside the box sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm all about. That's my bag.
Well, thank you, appreciate that. We'll go to Ms. Shortall next for that.
I think it's really difficult, especially in today's economy where so many places are closing and going to online only. And so I think it's very difficult to sit here and think of something that, we could attract to town in such a small area with so little parking. Obviously, I would love to see it, I would love to see it happen. I've lived here all my life. I remember when there were tons of stores on, yes, I'm that old. But I just think in today's economy, there would have to be a lot of thought put into that. So I'm not sure I'm prepared right at the moment for that.
But a lot has, don't expect to hear tonight, because a lot of time has been spent and a lot of frustration, as everybody wants us, because it's tough, even the businesses left down there, you don't get the traffic,
Right.
because you have a lot of empty storefronts and stuff.
Well, and you've now included a lot of apartment houses, and so, they need parking spaces, and so it's a very tough area.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one. Mr. Ellard?
Yeah, I'll agree. To redevelop Union Street is going to be difficult. I can't necessarily think of any one particular type of business, but I think it should be the responsibility of the board to try to make Rockland as accommodating to whatever business may see Union Street as an opportunity. I can't, like I say, sit here and think of a brewery or a movie theater or whatever to come in, but make it so that businesses do want to come here. And with regard to McKinley, I believe the plan for McKinley is to raise the building and turn it into a field to replace one of the fields that is being taken by the middle school project. But I also would like to see a movie theater somewhere, but I'm not quite sure, where something like that would fit. But yeah.
A quick follow-up that you mentioned that about the businesses, Mr. Watson. Dual tax rate. Should we keep it the way it is now, or are you in favor of a different rate for businesses versus residential? And I'll start again with Ms. Childs.
I believe residents ought to pay less taxes than businesses. And it ought to be dual. And, yeah, I do believe there's, you know, I've spoken to many seniors who feel like they're being priced out of Rockland, and they've lived here forever. And it's really kind of a sad statement. So.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Shortall?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Are you in favor of doing a split tax rate in
Yes.
Rockland?
I am.
Oh, you are, okay.
Well, only because businesses make money. You sitting in your house, you're not making money. So does it have to be a huge difference? No. But I think that to make sure that everyone is being treated fairly, I think that asking a business to pay not a significant, but a separate rate is, I don't think it's inconceivable.
Thank you. Mr. Elliott?
I guess I'll disagree. I'm going to say keep it uniform. We want to make, given the 80-20 split between residential and commercial, for every dollar that you take away, you take away $1 from 4 different residences, you add 4 to the commercial business. We keep hearing about we need more commercial, we need more commercial. Having a split rate definitely doesn't send that message, at least right now. I know if we had a huge, commercial base in existence, that'd be a different thing, but given how we are right now, I would be against splitting the tax rate.
Okay,
Thank you.
At this stage, maybe just one more quick question and then
Sure.
go to closing statements,
Yeah.
if that's all right. So here's one, and maybe it's a complicated question, but if you can give it a quick answer, good luck. There are moratoriums for water and sewer connections. Should building permits for new construction be placed on hold until our water and sewer problems are resolved? And I would ask that of Ms. Childs, excuse me. Want me to read it again?
Yes.
There are moratoriums for water and sewer connections. Should building permits for new construction be placed on hold until our water and sewer problems are resolved?
The water issue is well on its way to being resolved, and the sewer issue is not going to be resolved in one fell swoop. So I do believe that moratoriums can be lifted if the clay pipes are lined, for instance, and we get a section of town where the sewer can accommodate, new hookups. But, yeah, I'm open to development, but smart development.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Ms. Shortall, there are moratoriums for water and sewer connections. Should building permits for new construction be placed on hold until our water and sewer problems are resolved?
I would say that they need to stay in place until we figure out how the sewer plant is going to handle more sewage. Because it's not necessarily just the connections, it's the plant. It was not designed for what we have today. So I think that we need to look into the infrastructure of both the water and the sewer before we open up. There isn't a lot of space to be building on, but until we can handle what we have sewage in this town, a lot of towns still don't. A lot of towns still don't have town sewage. So I think we need to plan for what we're going to do with our existing infrastructure, how we're going to accommodate in the years to come before we continue to hand out building permits.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ellen, same question. There are moratoriums for water and sewer connections. Should building permits for new construction be placed on hold until our water and sewer problems are resolved?
At a high level, that seems to make sense. If we're having trouble with the sewer capacity, you would think you'd want to limit adding new flow to the system. But I certainly would defer to the experts on that and get their feedback. If they're telling us we can't, if someone else flushes their toilet, the sewer plant's going to blow up, obviously we're going to need to keep the moratoriums in place. If we're to the point where we can handle it, that's where I would defer to those who know way more than I do about water and sewer.
All right, thank you. At this point, we will now go to the closing statements from each of our candidates.
We'll start off with Ms. Shortall in this final statement.
I am pleased to be at this point in my life and sitting in this chair. I love this town. I have always loved this town. When we first got married, we never even thought about moving out. We've both, we're settled here. I chose to serve the town. I'm choosing to step up and offer to serve again. I do think that I bring a base of knowledge that came with experience. So I think that I could be a good addition. Obviously, it is up to the voters. So I hope that they will at least consider me.
Thank you. We'll go to Ms. Childs next.
Hi. My bottom line is I'll advocate for the residents of Rockland, what the residents want, and also come up with creative new ways to start conversations about things. Water, sewer, having fourth floor artists paint cool murals in town to attract people, like, hey, that's a funky town, let me go check it out, right? This town has so much potential, and I believe residents really ought to be heard, and there's many of us who felt like we haven't. We just get our tax bill and it's $500 more. It's like, whoa, how'd that happen? So trying to encourage people to become more engaged with municipal government and the way their lives can be improved by it and working together with residents. I would also like a haunted hayride on the rail trail. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Elwood?
Okay, so why am I worthy of one of the two open spots? I feel it's a combination of things. My education, the BA in economics and master's in finance, definitely sets me apart. My 15 years in the corporate world brings a different way of looking at things. My ability to bring my experience in Mansfield and how they do things is another plus. But most importantly, it's my 15 years of municipal experience here in Rockland. As I mentioned before, I know what's going on, I know what's working, and more importantly, what isn't working. I know most of the players here in town, and I would like to think that I have a positive working relationship with most of them. I have a 15-year track record of leadership and results between the FinCom and the Treasurer's Office. I will express my opinion, especially when it isn't shared by the entire board. I'm going to expect results and hold people accountable. I'm going to call BS when I see it. The role of the Board of Selectmen is to work in conjunction with the other elected and appointed boards, committees, and officials to find the best path forward for us as a town. The town is basically a service provider. We don't manufacture anything or produce any tangible products. We offer services, police, fire, education, counseling on aging, etc. The BOS needs to find that sweet spot where we can offer as many of these high-level quality services to our residents without taxing them out of their homes. And this is especially true for our seniors. We want to make Rockland attractive for commercial opportunities without losing our small-town feel. Finding a way to be more frugal and smart rather than cheap and short-sighted when it comes to investing in ourselves and our infrastructure. It's a combination of all of those things. And as I mentioned in my opening statement, I love serving the people of Rockland, and it definitely pained me to leave. So I would like to continue to serve Rockland, and I'm asking for one of your votes for Selectmen on April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our candidates.
Yes, thank you for stepping up. Appreciate it. Thanks to the committees, Democratic Town Committee, Republican Town Committee. For others that want to step up, there's a lot of ways to do it. As everybody here said tonight, right? Everybody wants to make the town a better town. There's a number of ways. There's the Democratic Town Committee, Republican Town Committee, Cable Committee. We have all kinds of committees that you can get on and get involved. It is a great town, but you have to make it a great town. So appreciate you folks coming out tonight and everybody watching at home. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Mr. Valenzola for co-moderating, and I'd like to thank Donna Shortall, John Ellard, and Lori Childs for being candidates for selectmen, and I wish you good luck on Election Day. And Election Day, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, is Saturday, April 9th. So please get out and vote for the candidates of your choice, because remember, people in Ukraine are fighting to do the same thing.
Yeah, God bless Ukraine. Let's pray for Ukraine.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, good night.